My name is Madison, and at 29, I have always been the responsible one in my family. 2 months ago, I discovered I wasn't invited to my brother Tyler's engagement party. When I confronted my father, he shrugged and said, "It's just a reunion, Madison. Don't make this about you." Hurt and angry, I went on my planned ski vacation instead and posted one carefree selfie from the mountaintop. Within hours, my phone exploded with frantic messages from my family. Turns out posting that photo was the best decision I ever made, but for reasons I never could have imagined. If you're watching this from somewhere with family drama of your own, drop a comment below and hit subscribe because my story about being overlooked and finally standing up for myself might just give you the courage you need too. Looking back, I can see how the patterns in my family were established long before Tyler's engagement party. I've been an emergency room nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston for 6 years now. It's demanding, often thankless work, but I love the challenge and the knowledge that I'm making a difference in people's lives during their most vulnerable moments. My family has always seen my responsible nature as simply who I am rather than a choice I make every day. Growing up, I was the one who helped with household chores without being asked who maintained straight A's, who never caused problems. Meanwhile, my younger brother Tyler, 3 years my junior, was the family charmer. He could talk his way out of trouble with a smile and always had big dreams that our parents enthusiastically supported. The defining moment in our family dynamic happened when I was 18. I had received a dance scholarship to NYU, my dream school. I'd been dancing since I was 5, and this opportunity represented everything I'd worked toward. But that same month, my father lost his management position during company downsizing. Our family's financial security was suddenly in jeopardy. Without being asked, I deferred my scholarship and enrolled in the local community college instead. I worked 30 hours a week at a coffee shop while taking full course loads, eventually transferring to a state university for my nursing degree. My parents were grateful, of course, but there was always an undertone that this was expected of me as the responsible one. Tyler, meanwhile, attended an expensive private college fully funded by my parents, who took out second and third mortgages to make it happen. Tyler needs the connections for his future, my mother explained when I questioned the disparity. He changed majors 3 times, took 5.5 years to graduate, and still emerged with a business degree, and our parents' unwavering belief in his potential. After college, I thrived despite the challenges. Nursing school was grueling but fulfilling. I graduated near the top of my class and quickly secured a position in the ER where the fast pace and high stakes suited my detail-oriented personality. I developed a reputation as the nurse you wanted in a crisis, calm and efficient, even in chaos. Meanwhile, Tyler bounced between startup ideas and sales positions, never staying with anything longer than 18 months. Each new venture was going to be the big one, according to him and my parents. When these ventures inevitably faltered, I was the one who listened to his frustrations and sometimes even loaned him money to cover rent until the next opportunity materialized. "Your brother is finding his path," my mother would say whenever I expressed concern about his pattern. "Not everyone is as naturally stable as you are, Madison." That was the crux of it. My stability wasn't natural. It was a choice I made daily, a discipline I maintained through exhausting shifts and emotional challenges. But my family saw it as my inherent personality, not something that deserved recognition or appreciation. Despite working hard, I lived modestly. My small one-bedroom apartment in Somerville was comfortable but simple. I contributed regularly to my retirement accounts and had an emergency fund, but luxury purchases and exotic vacations weren't part of my reality. The few trips I took were carefully budgeted and planned months in advance. Tyler, in contrast, lived in a sleek downtown apartment he could barely afford, drove a leased luxury car, and posted social media updates from restaurants and clubs I couldn't justify spending money on. When he needed financial bailouts, which happened with alarming frequency, he turned to me or our parents without hesitation or apparent embarrassment. I became the family problem solver by default. When our mother needed surgery 2 years ago, I arranged my schedule to help with her recovery. When our father's car broke down, I researched options and helped him negotiate with mechanics. When Tyler's girlfriend broke up with him after discovering he'd lied about his financial situation, I was the one who talked him through the aftermath. Then came the announcement that changed everything. Tyler had proposed to Brianna Williams, daughter of Robert Williams, who owned a successful chain of high-end fitness centers across New England. The Williams family moved in circles far removed from our middle-class existence, and it was clear that our parents saw this marriage as Tyler's ultimate achievement. "Can you believe it?" my mother gushed during our weekly phone call. "Robert Williams has connections to everyone who matters in Boston. This is going to open so many doors for Tyler." Despite our complicated history, I was genuinely happy for my brother. Brianna seemed kind in the few brief interactions I'd had with her, and Tyler appeared more motivated and focused since meeting her. I hoped her influence and her family's stability might help him find his footing. "That's great, Mom," I said sincerely. "Tyler deserves to be happy." What I didn't realize then was how this engagement would expose the fault lines in our family dynamic that had been there all along. I first learned about the engagement party through Instagram. Brianna had posted a photo of an elegant save the date card with flowing calligraphy announcing a celebration at the Harborview Hotel, one of the most exclusive venues in Boston. The caption read, "Can't wait to celebrate with our favorite people, had future Mrs. Williams." I smiled at the announcement and waited for my invitation to arrive. Days passed, then a week with no elegant envelope in my mailbox. I assumed it must have been lost in the mail, or perhaps sent to my old address by mistake. During Sunday dinner at my parents' house, I casually brought it up as we cleared the dishes. "So the engagement party is coming up soon. The harbor view is a beautiful choice." My mother's hands stilled on the plates she was stacking. "Oh yes, it's going to be lovely. Robert insisted on handling everything." "I haven't received my invitation yet. Was it mailed to my old apartment by mistake?" A moment of uncomfortable silence followed before my mother responded, not quite meeting my eyes. "Well, sweetheart, they had to limit the guest list quite strictly. The Williams have so many business associates and family friends to include." The implication hung in the air between us. I wasn't on the guest list. My own brother's engagement party, and I hadn't made the cut. "There isn't room for immediate family?" I asked, working to keep my voice neutral. "Your father and I are going, of course," she said quickly. But Robert was very specific about the numbers. "I'm sure there will be plenty of other celebrations where everyone can be included." That evening, I texted Tyler directly. "Heard about the party at Harbor View. Did my invitation get lost?" His response came hours later. "Sorry, sis, had to make tough calls on the guest list. Brianna's dad wanted to keep it networking focused. You understand." I did understand, though, not in the way Tyler meant. I understood that once again I was being taken for granted, assumed to be fine with exclusion, because I was the responsible one, who wouldn't make a fuss. The next day I discovered through my cousin Jenna that she and her husband had been invited along with our grandparents, 2 aunts and uncles, and several family friends. The limited space excuse crumbled completely when Jenna mentioned the venue could accommodate 200 guests. That weekend, I confronted Tyler directly when he stopped by my apartment to borrow my parking pass for a sporting event downtown. "Why am I really not invited to your engagement party, Tyler? And don't say it's about space when cousin Jenna and the Petersons from down the street made the list." Tyler had the decency to look uncomfortable, at least momentarily. "Look, Robert is very image conscious, okay? This party is as much about business connections as celebration. He wanted a certain, atmosphere." "And I don't fit that atmosphere," I pressed. Tyler sighed impatient now. "Come on, Madison. You know how these things work. Brianna's family runs in circles with CEOs and politicians. They're not looking to network with nurses." The casual dismissal of my profession, my life choices stung more than I wanted to admit. "I'm your sister Tyler, not a networking opportunity." "Don't be so sensitive," he replied, checking his watch. "There will be other parties. This one's mostly for show anyway." When I brought up the issue with my father the following day, his response was equally dismissive. "It's just a reunion, Madison. Don't make this about you. Tyler has a real chance to cement his place in Brianna's family's world. We need to support that." "By pretending I don't exist?" I asked. "Nobody's pretending anything," he said, his tone suggesting I was being unreasonable. "But sometimes we make small sacrifices for the greater good of the family. You've always understood that better than anyone." There it was again, the assumption that I would sacrifice without complaint, because that's what I always did. the expectation that I would smile and step aside so Tyler could shine. As the party date approached, I discovered it coincided with a ski trip to Colorado I had planned months earlier with friends from the hospital. We had booked a non-refundable package, coordinated our time off during the demanding hospital schedule, and I had been looking forward to the rare vacation for months. "You should still go on your trip," my mother said when I mentioned the conflict, her relief palpable that I wasn't going to fight for an invitation. "There's no reason to change your plans now." So I decided to go to Colorado, not as a petty response to being excluded, but because for once I chose to prioritize my own plans rather than rearranging my life around family expectations. The night before I left, I scrolled through Instagram to see my mother posting about the upcoming celebration of love for Tyler and Brianna, tagging family members who would be attending. My absence wasn't mentioned. It was as if no one expected me to be there in the first place. As I packed my warmest clothes and ski gear, I felt a complicated mix of emotions: hurt at being so easily dismissed, anger at years of being taken for granted, and somewhere beneath it all, a growing determination to stop accepting this treatment as normal. The Rocky Mountain Ski Resort was everything the brochures promised: majestic snow-covered peaks, pristine slopes, and crisp mountain air that felt cleansing in my lungs after months in the hospital environment. I shared a spacious cabin with 3 other nurses from my unit, Danny, Rachel, and Kate. We had bonded through countless chaotic shifts and rare moments of triumph in the ER, creating friendships forged in the kind of intensity only healthcare workers truly understand. "This view alone was worth the flight," Danny said, as we settled in on our first evening, gesturing toward the panoramic windows, showcasing mountains glowing pink and gold in the sunset. I had told my friends about the engagement party situation during our flight, trying to downplay how much it hurt. They were appropriately outraged on my behalf. "Who doesn't invite their own sister to an engagement party?" Rachel had exclaimed. "That's beyond rude. That's just cruel." Kate, always the pragmatic one, had a different perspective. "Their loss is our gain. We get Madison on the slopes instead of her suffering through some stuffy networking event." Their support was exactly what I needed: validation, that my feelings were justified, combined with a determination to help me enjoy myself despite the family drama. We spent that first evening planning our ski routes, toasting with local craft beers, and laughing in a way I realized I hadn't in months. The morning of Tyler's engagement party, I woke early, determined not to spend the day checking social media or wondering what was happening back in Boston. We hit the slopes early, and I threw myself into the physical challenge of skiing, focusing on technique and speed rather than the hollow feeling in my chest. Around midday, we stopped for lunch at a mountainside cafe, and I couldn't resist quickly checking Instagram. Sure enough, my feed was filling with posts from the engagement celebration. My mother looking elegant in a new dress I'd never seen. My father uncomfortable but proud in a tuxedo. Distant relatives I barely spoke to raising champagne glasses in the opulent Harborview ballroom. "Put that away," Danny instructed, gently taking my phone. "No family stalking allowed on vacation." She was right, but the images had already done their damage, reinforcing the reality that life was continuing without me, that my absence wasn't disrupting anyone's good time. After lunch, we signed up for an afternoon advanced skiing group. Our instructor introduced himself as Lucas Tall, with sun-weathered skin that spoke of years on the mountain and an easy smile that immediately put everyone at ease. "First time at Rocky Mountain?" he asked as he adjusted my pole grip before we started. "First time skiing anywhere in about 5 years," I admitted. "Work doesn't allow for many vacations." "What do you do?" The question was casual, conversational. "I'm an ER nurse in Boston." His eyebrows rose with genuine respect. "Seriously impressive. You guys are the real heroes. My sister's a trauma nurse in Denver." It was a small moment, but the immediate recognition of the value of my work without qualification or comparison felt surprisingly good after Tyler's dismissal. Lucas proved to be an excellent instructor-patient, but pushing us to improve. By late afternoon, we were navigating challenging runs with growing confidence. As the sun began its descent toward the mountains, Lucas took our group to what he called the money spot, a ridge overlooking the valley with the kind of panoramic view that appears on postcards. "Best sunset in Colorado right here," he announced as we came to a stop. "Trust me, you'll want a photo." The fading sunlight painted the snow in shades of gold and rose the sky a deepening blue above white-peaked mountains. Lucas offered to take pictures for anyone who wanted them. And when my turn came, he spent extra time finding the perfect angle. "This lighting is making your hair look like it's on fire," he commented, as he snapped a few shots referring to my auburn hair escaping from my ski hat. "These are going to be great." When he handed my phone back, I had to agree. The photos captured something rare, me looking genuinely happy. Cheeks flushed with cold and exertion, mountains majestic behind me, the sunset creating a natural halo effect. In that moment, I felt a million miles from family expectations and disappointments. "You should definitely post that one," Lucas said, pointing to a particularly good shot. "Some people wait their whole lives to get a photo with light that perfect." Back at the cabin that evening, while my friends showered and changed for dinner, I looked at the photo again. On impulse, I opened Instagram and posted it with the caption, "Some reunions are worth missing. Best day ever." It wasn't meant to be provocative. It wasn't even consciously directed at my family. It was simply an honest expression of how I felt in that moment, that choosing myself for once had led to something beautiful. We went to dinner at a lively restaurant in the nearby town, where Lucas and some other ski instructors joined us at our table. The conversation flowed easily, focused on adventures on the slopes, local recommendations, and funny stories from our respective professions. For hours, I didn't think about Boston or Tyler or parties I wasn't welcome at. It wasn't until we returned to the cabin around 11 that I checked my phone and found it overflowing with notifications. My innocent ski selfie had apparently caused an uproar. First came a text from Tyler. "Really mature Madison. Way to try to steal attention on my special day. Thanks for nothing." Then one from my mother. "People are asking where you are. What should I tell them about your post? It looks very deliberately timed." And finally my father. "Disappointed in your childish behavior. Thought you were above this kind of attention-seeking." I stared at the messages, genuinely confused by the outsized reaction. It was just a vacation photo, not a manifesto. The accusations of attention-seeking seemed wildly disproportionate to posting a single selfie. "Everything okay?" Kate asked, noticing my expression as I scrolled through the messages. "Apparently posting a ski photo has somehow ruined my brother's engagement party," I replied, bewildered. "I don't even understand why they're so upset." Danny read the messages over my shoulder and shook her head. "Wow, they really do expect you to just disappear when it's convenient for them, don't they? Heaven forbid you have a life when you're not invited to their party." The more I thought about it, the more their reactions reinforced exactly what had hurt me in the first place. The expectation that I would mold my existence around their needs and preferences, even when explicitly excluded. Rather than engage immediately, I silenced my phone and joined my friends for a final drink by the cabin's fireplace, determined not to let family drama hijack the remainder of my evening. The next morning, I woke to dozens more notifications, missed calls, text messages, and voicemails from family members. Most puzzling was a message from my cousin Jenna. "You had no idea what happened. Did you call me ASAP?" Her cryptic message suggested something beyond my innocent photo post had occurred. I called her immediately. "Madison, where have you been? Everyone's been trying to reach you," Jenna answered without preamble. "I'm on a ski trip in Colorado." "What's going on? Why is everyone freaking out about my Instagram post?" Jenna's laugh held no humor. "Oh, your post is the least of it. You really don't know what happened at the party." "How would I? I wasn't invited. Remember?" "Right," she said, her voice softening with sympathy. "Well, it was an absolute disaster. Midway through the speeches, Brianna's father stood up to toast. The couple took one look at Tyler and apparently recognized him from some business dealing gone wrong from a few years ago." I sat down on the edge of my bed, already sensing where this was heading. "What kind of business dealing?" According to what Robert Williams said loudly in front of everyone, Tyler approached him 2 years ago, representing some investment group trying to get funding for a fitness app. Williams invested $50,000 based on Tyler's projections, and the whole thing collapsed within months. This was news to me. Tyler had never mentioned any prior connection to the Williams family. That doesn't make sense. Tyler only met Brianna 8 months ago through a mutual friend. "Exactly," Jenna confirmed. Apparently, Tyler claimed he didn't recognize Robert when he met Brianna, which Robert isn't buying for a second. He accused Tyler of deliberately pursuing Brianna to get close to her family again after the business failure. That's a serious accusation, I said, my mind racing. How did Tyler respond? He denied it at first, but then Robert started asking about Tyler's current business ventures, his financial status, all these details that made it clear Tyler has been, well, exaggerating his success to Brianna's family. It got ugly fast. Brianna was in tears, your mom tried to intervene, and Robert threatened to call off the engagement then and there. The party sounded like an absolute nightmare, but I still didn't understand the connection to my social media post. What does any of this have to do with my ski photo? Your timing, Jenna explained. Right when everything was exploding at the party, everyone's phone started buzzing with your post about reunions worth missing and looking so happy. People thought you knew about the Tyler Williams connection all along and were gloating about avoiding the disaster. The absurdity of the situation hit me all at once. That's ridiculous. I had no idea about any of this. It was just a sunset ski photo. I figured as much, Jenna said. But your parents and Tyler are convinced you somehow knew and timed that post to twist the knife. After thanking Jenna for the information, I checked my voicemails. There were 3 from my mother, increasingly frantic, asking me to call her urgently for damage control advice. 2 from my father, the second notably more conciliatory than his initial angry text. And 1 from Tyler that contained more accusation than information. The pattern was unmistakable. After excluding me from the celebration, they now expected me to drop everything and help manage the fallout. Once again, I was only valuable when they needed something from me. Rather than immediately returning their calls, I joined my friends for breakfast, sharing the bizarre turn of events. Let me get this straight, Rachel said as she buttered her toast. They didn't want you at the fancy party because you're just a nurse, not a networking opportunity. But now that everything's imploded, they want your help fixing it. Put that way, the situation seemed even more absurd. You don't owe them an immediate response, Kate advised. You're allowed to enjoy your vacation that you planned and paid for. She was right. For once, I decided not to drop everything to solve my family's problems. I texted my mother a brief message. On a planned vacation in Colorado. We'll call when I return to Boston next week. Hope things work out with Tyler and Brianna. Then I turned my attention back to the present. The beautiful mountain day ahead, the friends who valued me without conditions. And intriguingly, a text from Lucas, asking if I'd like to join him on an off-trail adventure, suitable for advanced skiers. Throughout the day, I felt my phone vibrating with more messages, but I resisted the urge to check them constantly. This vacation was meant to be a break not just from work, but from patterns that weren't serving me well. That afternoon, navigating a spectacular hidden powder trail with Lucas, I found myself opening up about the family situation more than I had intended. So you're always the responsible one they count on, except when it might outshine your brother, Lucas summarized after I'd explained the basics. Something like that? I agreed, surprised by his quick understanding. My older brother's the same way with me, he said as we paused to take in another breathtaking view. Expected to solve every family crisis, but somehow never quite good enough in the regular moments. Took me years to realize I was allowing it by always dropping everything to help. How did you change it? I asked, genuinely curious. Slowly. Started setting boundaries, stopped answering every crisis call immediately, made it clear I had my own life and priorities. He adjusted his goggles thoughtfully. It was rough at first. They were used to me being available on demand, but eventually they started respecting my boundaries because they had to. His words stayed with me through the remainder of the trip. As we enjoyed our final days of skiing, hiking, and evening gatherings around fire pits with new friends, I found myself contemplating what boundaries might look like in my own family. By the time we boarded our flight back to Boston, I had made a decision. I wouldn't cut off my family. They were still important to me despite everything. But I would no longer automatically sacrifice my needs for theirs, especially when they showed so little regard for my feelings. It was time for a new dynamic, one based on mutual respect rather than expected sacrifice. Returning to my apartment in Boston felt like stepping back into a different reality after the freedom of Colorado. The familiar surroundings seemed somehow different, as if my perspective had shifted even though nothing physical had changed. There were more messages waiting. My parents had continued reaching out throughout my trip, their tone evolving from demanding to pleading. Tyler had been notably silent after his initial angry message. I unpacked methodically, did a load of laundry, and prepared for my hospital shift the following day, before finally sitting down to address the family situation. My mother answered on the first ring. "Madison, thank goodness, we've been so worried. I told you I was on vacation, Mom. I wasn't ignoring you, just enjoying my trip. But with everything happening with Tyler and Brianna, we needed your help," she said, a familiar note of expectation in her voice. "What exactly did you think I could do from a mountain in Colorado?" Her hesitation spoke volumes. "Well, you're always so good at smoothing things over, finding the right words. Tyler really needs your support right now." The same Tyler who hadn't wanted me at his engagement party now needed my support. The irony wasn't lost on me. "What's the current situation with them?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Mom sighed deeply. "Brianna has temporarily called off the engagement. She's hurt that Tyler wasn't honest about knowing her father previously and about his financial situation. Robert is furious, convinced Tyler was using Brianna to get to him after the business failure." "Was he," I asked bluntly, "using Brianna, I mean?" "Madison, how could you even ask that your brother genuinely loves her?" "It's a reasonable question given the circumstances, Mom. I didn't even know Tyler had prior business with her father. He's never mentioned it to me." She was quiet for a moment. He was embarrassed about how it ended. But that doesn't mean his feelings for Brianna aren't real. We talked for another 20 minutes, with my mother gradually revealing more details about the disastrous party and its aftermath. Tyler had apparently been staying with our parents since the blow-up, too devastated to return to his apartment alone. "He really needs his sister right now," she concluded. "Could you come over for dinner tomorrow night? Try to help him figure out how to make things right with Brianna." The old Madison would have immediately agreed, rearranging her schedule to accommodate the family crisis. The new Madison still emerging, but stronger after Colorado paused to consider her own needs. "I just got back from vacation and have an early shift tomorrow. How about Thursday instead?" Setting a boundary, even a small one, felt both terrifying and exhilarating. My mother's momentary silence suggested surprise at not receiving immediate acquiescence, but she recovered quickly. "Thursday would work too. Thank you, sweetheart." Before Thursday's dinner could arrive, however, I received an unexpected message from an unfamiliar number. "Hi, Madison, this is Brianna Williams. I know we haven't really talked much, but I was hoping we could meet for coffee tomorrow. There are some things I'd like to discuss without Tyler or your parents present." The message surprised me. Brianna and I had only met briefly a few times at family gatherings. Our interactions had been pleasant but superficial. Now she wanted a private conversation. Curiosity won out, and I agreed to meet her at a cafe halfway between the hospital and her office during my afternoon break. Brianna arrived precisely on time, dressed in an understated but clearly expensive business casual outfit that somehow made my scrubs feel even more utilitarian than usual. Despite her polished appearance, her eyes were tired with faint shadows, suggesting recent sleepless nights. After ordering our coffees, she got straight to the point. "I wanted to talk to you because you seem like the only person in Tyler's life who might give me a straight answer." "About what?" "About everything," she said with a sigh. "About whether Tyler genuinely loves me or sees me as a business opportunity. About whether his financial issues are temporary setbacks or a pattern. About whether I'm making a huge mistake considering giving him another chance." The directness of her questions caught me off guard. I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask. Tyler and I aren't exactly close confidants. Brianna looked surprised. "That's not the impression I got from him. He always described you as the person he turns to with problems, his rock." She paused, studying my expression. "Though I was confused when he said you couldn't attend our engagement party due to work commitments. I specifically asked for you to be included when my father was limiting the guest list." This revelation stopped me cold. "Wait, what? Tyler told everyone I couldn't attend because of work." Brianna nodded slowly. "He said you were very sorry to miss it, but couldn't get out of your hospital shifts. I was disappointed. I was looking forward to getting to know you better since Tyler speaks so highly of you." The magnitude of Tyler's lie suddenly clarified everything: why distant relatives had asked about my absence, why no one seemed bothered that I wasn't there. He had deliberately excluded me and then lied to everyone about the reason. "I was never invited," I said quietly. "I found out about the party through social media and was told there wasn't room for me on the guest list. My father dismissed it as just a reunion I didn't need to attend." Brianna's expression shifted from surprise to dismay. "That's horrible. I'm so sorry, Madison. I had no idea." Our conversation continued for over an hour, well past my intended break time. Brianna was surprisingly forthright about her relationship with Tyler, her family's concerns, and her own conflicted feelings. In turn, I was more honest than I might have been before my Colorado epiphany, sharing insights into Tyler's patterns without either demonizing him or making excuses. "He's not a bad person," I explained carefully. "But he has spent his life being rescued by our parents, by me, by whoever's available. He's never had to fully face the consequences of his choices." As we parted, Brianna thanked me for my candor. "I have a lot to think about, but at least now I'm making decisions with my eyes open. And Madison, I hope we can become friends regardless of what happens with Tyler and me." The conversation with Brianna left me with a strengthened resolve to confront Tyler about his lie. That opportunity came sooner than expected when I arrived home that evening to find him waiting outside my apartment building. "We need to talk," he said without preamble. "Mom and Dad said you're coming for dinner tomorrow, but I wanted to see you first." I let him in, noting how uncharacteristically disheveled he looked, his normally perfect hair unstyled, his designer clothes wrinkled as if he'd been sleeping in them. "I met with Brianna today," I said as I put my bag down. "Interesting conversation." Tyler looked wary. "What did she say?" "Among other things, she mentioned how disappointed she was that I couldn't attend the engagement party due to work commitments. Funny, since I was never invited, and was explicitly told there wasn't room for me." His face flushed. "I can explain that." "Please do," I replied, crossing my arms. "It was just easier to tell people you couldn't make it than to explain the guest list limitations. You know how these society events are." "No, actually, I don't, since I'm apparently not society enough to be included in my own brother's engagement celebration." The hurt I'd been containing seeped into my voice despite my efforts. "Don't be so dramatic, Madison. It wasn't personal. Excluding your sister while inviting distant cousins and neighborhood acquaintances feels pretty personal to me." Tyler ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "This is exactly why I didn't want to have this conversation. You're making it all about you when my entire relationship is falling apart." The familiar deflection, my feelings were always secondary. My hurt always an overreaction. My needs always less important than his crisis of the moment. "You lied about me to your fiancé and everyone else," I stated calmly. "That's not me making it about me. That's me holding you accountable for your actions." "Fine, I lied. Is that what you want to hear?" His voice rose. "I told people you couldn't make it because it was easier than explaining that Brianna's father wanted a certain type of guest list, and my nurse sister didn't make the cut. I was trying to protect you from feeling excluded." "That's not protection, Tyler. That's manipulation. And now you're here because you need my help fixing things with Brianna." He didn't deny it. "You're good with people. You always know what to say. I thought maybe you could talk to her. Explain that I really do love her, that the business stuff was just a misunderstanding." Was it just a misunderstanding? Tyler's silence was answer enough. "I can't fix this for you," I said finally. "And I won't try. This is something you need to address yourself honestly and directly." "So you're abandoning me when I need you most. That's pretty cold even for you." The accusation stung, but I recognized it for what it was: an attempt to manipulate me back into the role of family fixer. "I'm not abandoning you. I'm refusing to enable patterns that aren't healthy for either of us. There's a difference." Tyler left shortly after, angry and resentful that I wouldn't fall in line with his expectations. When I called my parents to cancel dinner the following night, explaining what I had learned about Tyler's lie, they were conflicted but ultimately defaulted to defending him. "He was under so much pressure with the Williams family," my mother rationalized. "I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt you." "Whether he meant to or not, he did," I replied. "And I need some space right now." Setting that boundary was both the hardest and most liberating thing I had done in years. The next 2 weeks were unusually quiet on the family front. My mother sent a few tentative text messages checking in, but didn't pressure me about reconnecting with Tyler. My father remained silent. Tyler himself made one attempt to contact me, a late-night message that read more like a guilt trip than an apology. I focused on my work at the hospital, finding renewed satisfaction in the direct impact I had on patients' lives. The ER's intensity and unpredictability suited my current emotional state, providing purpose and perspective when family matters felt confusing and unresolved. Surprisingly, Lucas from Colorado maintained contact, our text exchanges evolving from casual check-ins to deeper conversations about life goals and the challenge of setting boundaries with family. When he mentioned he had a conference in Boston the following month, I felt an unexpected flutter of anticipation at the prospect of seeing him again. Just as I was beginning to feel comfortable with the distance from my family, my mother called with what sounded like genuine remorse in her voice. "I owe you an apology, Madison." She began, the words clearly difficult for her. "I've been thinking a lot about how we've treated you over the years, especially with this engagement party situation." Her candor caught me off guard. "Thank you for saying that. Your father and I had a long talk," she continued. "We realized we've taken you for granted, always assuming you'd be there to help without ever considering your feelings. It wasn't fair. We had a conversation unlike any in recent memory, honest, sometimes painful, but without the usual deflections and justifications." My mother admitted that they had enabled Tyler's behavior throughout his life, creating patterns that served none of us well. "We've always leaned on your strength," she acknowledged. "It was easier than addressing why Tyler needed so much support. We did you both a disservice." While one conversation couldn't undo years of established dynamics, it felt like a meaningful step toward a healthier relationship. My father called the following day, his apology more awkward but equally sincere. "I dismissed your feelings about the party," he said gruffly. "I was wrong to do that. You deserved better from me." Tyler remained the holdout, maintaining that I had abandoned him in his time of need. According to my mother, he and Brianna were cautiously communicating again, with Brianna insisting on complete financial transparency and couples counseling as conditions for potentially reconciling. About 3 weeks after the party fiasco, I received another message from Brianna. "Tyler and I are working through things slowly. Your insights have been invaluable. Would you be open to having coffee again sometime? No Tyler talk required. I'd just like to get to know you better." Our subsequent coffee meetups revealed Brianna to be thoughtful, ambitious, and far more grounded than her wealthy background might suggest. She spoke candidly about her struggles to establish her own identity, separate from her father's success, something I could relate to despite our different circumstances. "Tyler talks about you like you're superhuman," she commented during one of our conversations. "It must be exhausting living up to that image." Her perception was startlingly accurate. It is, especially when that superhuman quality is only valued when it's convenient for everyone else. Brianna became an unexpected ally in my family situation, offering an outside perspective that validated my feelings without demonizing anyone. When she and Tyler tentatively resumed their engagement a month after the disastrous party, she insisted that I be included in all future family events. My parents made visible efforts to change their approach to me. My mother called regularly without immediately asking for favors or advice. My father took an interest in my nursing career, asking thoughtful questions about my work for the first time in years. These were small steps, but meaningful ones. Tyler's evolution was slower and less consistent. When Lucas visited Boston for his conference, Tyler happened to see a photo I posted of us at dinner and immediately texted, "Replacing family with some random ski bum now." The old Madison might have apologized or explained. The new Madison simply replied, "His name is Lucas. He's a good person who respects my boundaries. Not random at all." Despite such occasional relapses into old patterns, there were also moments of growth. Tyler invited me to a small dinner with just him and Brianna, making a point to acknowledge my important role in his life publicly. "Madison has always been my rock," he told Brianna, "even when I didn't deserve her support." It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. When Brianna's father decided to host a second, more intimate engagement celebration, 3 months after the disastrous first attempt, I received a personal invitation delivered to my apartment. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note from Robert Williams himself. Brianna speaks very highly of you. Your presence would mean a great deal to her and to our family. The morning of the second engagement party, I found myself experiencing an unexpected case of nerves as I prepared. The event was being held at a smaller but still elegant venue, with a guest list half the size of the original party. You're going to be fine, Lucas reassured me over the phone as I debated between two dresses. We had been seeing each other regularly since his conference visit, our relationship evolving naturally into something that felt both exciting and comfortable. I know, I replied, but it's still strange to walk into an event where the last version ended in complete disaster. A disaster I wasn't even present for, but somehow got blamed for anyway. Just remember that you're attending from a position of strength this time, he said. You're not the uninvited sister anymore. You're a valued guest who's been specifically included. His perspective helped calm my anxiety. I chose the emerald dress that brought out the green in my hazel eyes, styled my auburn hair in loose waves, and deliberately wore the silver pendant Lucas had given me before returning to Colorado, a tiny mountain range that reminded me of the moment I had begun to reclaim my self-worth. Lucas had rearranged his schedule to accompany me to the party, understanding, without me having to explain how important his supportive presence would be. As we entered the venue together, his hand steady at the small of my back, I felt a confidence that had nothing to do with the elegant surroundings and everything to do with the personal growth of recent months. Brianna spotted us immediately, hurrying over with a genuine smile. Madison, you look beautiful. I'm so glad you could make it. She embraced me warmly before turning to Lucas. And you must be the famous ski instructor I've heard so much about. My parents approached next, both making a visible effort to be welcoming. My mother complimented my dress, while my father shook Lucas's hand with unexpected enthusiasm, engaging him in a conversation about Colorado's best skiing locations. The tension I had been carrying began to ease. This wasn't the awkward, forced interaction I had feared. There was an authenticity to these exchanges that felt new and promising. Tyler and I had our moment of reckoning when he found me at the champagne table. He hesitated briefly before speaking. You came, he said, a question implicit in his tone. I was invited, I replied simply. Right. He fidgeted with his cufflink. Look, Madison, I know I haven't properly apologized for the first party situation. I handled it badly. Coming from Tyler, this qualified as a significant admission. Yes, you did. I was trying to impress Brianna's family, trying to fit into their world, and I made choices I'm not proud of. I waited, giving him space to continue, rather than rushing to ease his discomfort, as I might have done before. Anyway, I'm glad you're here now. He finished, not quite managing a full apology, but making more effort than he had in years. And your guy seems cool. The party proceeded with none of the drama of its predecessor. Robert Williams, far from the intimidating figure I had imagined, turned out to be surprisingly down to earth, despite his wealth and status. When Brianna introduced us, he clasped my hand warmly. So you're the emergency room nurse, he said. Brianna tells me you work at Mass General. That's impressive work you do there. His genuine respect for my profession contrasted sharply with the previous implication that I wasn't society enough for the original guest list. We had a thoughtful conversation about healthcare challenges during which he expressed more interest in my perspective than many people in my own family had over the years. My parents observed these interactions with a mixture of surprise and pride, perhaps seeing me through new eyes as others valued what they had taken for granted. The most meaningful moment came during the toasts. Brianna, standing beside Tyler, raised her glass and looked directly at me. I want to especially thank Madison for her wisdom and honesty during a difficult time. Family relationships aren't always simple, but they're always important. I'm grateful to be joining a family that includes someone of such integrity and compassion. The public acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. Lucas squeezed my hand under the table, a silent message of understanding. Later, as we drove home from the party, I reflected on the strange journey that had brought me to this point. If you had told me 3 months ago that being excluded from Tyler's engagement party would ultimately lead to positive changes in my family dynamic, I never would have believed it. Lucas smiled. Sometimes not being invited to the party is the best thing that can happen to you." He was right. My absence at the first celebration had set in motion a cascade of events that forced long overdue conversations and reckonings. The painful exclusion had ultimately created space for something healthier to emerge. In the weeks and months that followed, my relationship with my family continued to evolve. There were setbacks and old habits that resurfaced, particularly with Tyler. But there was also a new awareness on all sides that prevented us from falling completely back into destructive patterns. My mother and I developed a more authentic connection, one based on mutual respect rather than expectation and obligation. My father made efforts to show interest in my life and accomplishments, sometimes awkwardly, but always sincerely. Tyler's progress was less consistent, but still notable. When he and Brianna purchased their first home together, he specifically asked for my input on creating a welcoming space for family gatherings. "You've always been good at making places feel like home," he said, a simple acknowledgement that contained more appreciation than elaborate praise. Most importantly, my relationship with Lucas deepened into a partnership based on mutual support and understanding. When he was offered a position managing winter programs at a resort closer to Boston, we both recognized it as an opportunity to explore what our connection might become with proximity rather than distance. 6 months after that fateful non-invitation, I received a promotion to charge nurse in the ER, recognition of the leadership qualities I had demonstrated consistently over the years. My parents hosted a small celebration dinner during which my father raised a toast. "To Madison," he said, his voice gruff with emotion, "who has always been extraordinary even when we failed to notice." It wasn't a perfect resolution, life rarely offers those. My family still had moments of falling back into old patterns, and I sometimes struggled to maintain boundaries without withdrawing completely. But we were moving towards something healthier, more honest, and more mutually supportive. The most profound change, however, was within myself. I had learned that my value wasn't determined by my usefulness to others or my willingness to sacrifice. It came from within, from my choices, my integrity, and my courage to stand up for my own worth. As Lucas and I walked along the Boston waterfront one evening, talking about future possibilities and shared dreams, I realized with sudden clarity that sometimes the best reunions aren't with family at all. Sometimes they're with the authentic self you've left behind in the process of becoming what everyone else needed you to be. Sometimes not being invited to the party is the beginning of finding where you truly belong. Have you ever felt undervalued by family or friends who only seemed to appreciate you when they needed something? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to know how you handled it and what boundaries you set to protect your well-being. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need permission to prioritize themselves occasionally. And remember to drop a like if you've ever found that rejection or exclusion ultimately led you to something better than what you thought you wanted. Thank you for listening to my journey of finding value beyond validation from others.